Sometimes you notice that after you say something, you don't immediately go on. You pause. You check whether the other person caught it. You listen for some small echo in the air. It doesn't feel like you're waiting for a clear answer. It's more like you're waiting for the sentence not to fall to the ground. This pause is light enough that you almost never notice it in daily life. But it's also familiar, so familiar that most of the time you wouldn't even think to name it. You just feel that when you speak, something inside you stays suspended, as if the words have gone out but haven't quite landed yet. I started paying attention to this later. Not in the big moments, not an argument, not a confession, just ordinary speech. Sending a message, sharing a thought, mentioning something small that just happened. You say it or send it, and then you wait. At first you think that wait is for the other person's reaction, but if you look one layer deeper, it isn't quite that. What you're waiting for is vaguer than an answer, and more basic. You're waiting for the sentence to be caught, received, confirmed as having existed. And then I started wondering, what are the things I say actually saying? I'm so tired today. On the surface, this is a statement. But if you stop and ask yourself honestly, when you say this, are you telling the other person a fact? Or are you waiting for them to say, "What happened? Are you okay?" Most of the time, it's the latter. Or take this. I feel like what I've been doing lately doesn't really mean anything. This sounds like reflection, like an honest expression of an inner state. But it's also a structure. Its full form is, I feel like what I've been doing lately doesn't mean anything. Can you tell me that's not true? The second half is never said, but it's always there. Where did you go? Are you okay? Did you notice what I said about that? Behind every sentence, there seems to be a hidden parenthesis. And what's inside that parenthesis isn't information. It's a demand. There's a German word that roughly translates to something like insecurity-driven demand or anxious craving. Philosophers use it to describe the basic condition of our language today, that nearly every sentence we utter carries a structure underneath it. Tell me where you are. Tell me you love me. Tell me I'm right. Tell me the world is still safe. The first time this idea occurred to me, I felt a little uncomfortable. Not because I thought something was wrong with it. If anything, it was because it felt too precise. But if language can degrade into this, what was it originally like? Rilke said the poet comes into the world to praise, not to use things, not to change anything, just because things exist, and that existing itself is worth praising. That kind of language asks for nothing in return, produces no output, waits for no echo. It is entirely self-sufficient. To say it is already to have completed it. This sounds like a Western idea, carrying something of Heidegger's sense that naming a thing brings it into being, the poet as an agent of the divine, using language to illuminate what sits silent in the dark. But what comes to my mind instead is a different set of images. Wang Wei wrote, "The bright moon shines through the pines, the clear spring flows over the stones." Li Bai wrote, "We look at each other and never tire. Only Mount Jingting and I." They weren't praising some object from a height above it. They didn't even care whether anyone was watching. That was language flowing naturally after the boundary between self and world had dissolved. Language there wasn't a tool, wasn't a distress signal, wasn't a message waiting to be received. It was simply the shape of that moment itself. Rilke's praise and the lyricism of Wang Wei and Li Bai took different paths, but they share one premise: non-utility. Wang Wei didn't expect the moon to like his post. Li Bai didn't demand confirmation from Mount Jingting. Language there simply flowed, self-contained, quiet, without any purpose. What a luxury that state of being was. So I started wondering, how did that luxury disappear? It didn't vanish one day. It was replaced bit by bit. Never mind sophisticated theory. Just look at the most concrete design features of the environment we live in now. Read receipts like counts, comment sections, so-and-so like this in your friend circle. These things are not neutral. They point in a direction. They quietly, continuously train you to believe one thing. Language has value, and that value can be measured in numbers. You send something out, then you wait. That waiting isn't something you were born with. It's something the system taught you, piece by piece. It manufactures a feeling of scarcity. If there's no response, It's as if you said something no one heard. And something no one heard is almost the same as never having said it at all. So, the next time you speak, you start adjusting. Not consciously, something more hidden than that. What will get a response, how to phrase it so someone will care, whether there will be an echo in the air after this sentence goes out. Slowly, every sentence you say starts carrying that posture of waiting. Many people don't notice this in themselves, not because they're dishonest, but because it has already become breathing. It has become the default. It has become what speaking itself looks like. Sometimes I think about going through everything I've ever said and wondering how many of those sentences were actually saying something and how many were, at their core, waiting for an echo. That's not an easy question to answer, because the line between the two seems to keep blurring, but every once in a while that other kind of moment still happens. Not said for anyone to hear, just a sentence that had stayed inside long enough, and so it came out. And once it's out, there's no waiting, because it was never for the sake of waiting for anything. The sentence went out, and by going out it was already complete. Moments like this are rare enough that when you notice one, there's a small strangeness to it. Oh, language can still be like this. A sentence can end, and not have to stay suspended.